will be speaking with the General Secretary of the Nigerian Union of Electricity Employees. He will be sharing with us the several challenges the electricity sector is faced with and perhaps the possible solution. Join me. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, a lot is happening in the electricity sector, and I'll be asking you several questions in this regards. How would you rate the performance of the DISCOs and GENCOs? Would you say after the privatization of that sector, would you say that they've been performing?
They were not meant to perform. You know, if you look at the privatization process, the way it happened, you know, you agree with me that they were not meant to perform. They were meant to maximize profit to the extent at which they may have smiled to the banks, if that is the measure for performance. I think yes. But in terms of providing services to Nigerians, I will tell you no, because there were certain things they were supposed to do. You know, fix the sector, improve the sector, and then at a reasonable tariff. And then we were supposed to equally have foreign direct investment. Apparently, knew there will be inflow of dollar and other currencies to the Nigerian economy, but none of this was achieved. So we are still grappling between 4,000 or less megawatts of electricity. And despite the fact that it will take you 3 years or 4 years to build a power plant, that's the gestation period for a power plant. As of today, 5 years after, they have not built one, you know, and what we still have is 4,000 or less, which was even the target that President Obasanjo met even in 2001, 2002, under Neil Imoke as chairman of the technical committee. So if you are still talking of 2001, 2002, 4,000 megawatts, and 2018, 4,000 megawatts, where some people have hijacked the power sector in the name of privatization and fixing it, and then you are still having less than 4,000 megawatts, then they should look for another excuse and give to us. It's not like privatization, you know, was meant to achieve anything. None.
Okay, 5 years into the privatization, and Nigerians have been experiencing crazy bills. I would like to ask you specifically, many Nigerians believe that it is intentional for them not to actually provide prepaid meters. What's your take on this?
I think their suspicion is not unfounded, you know, because under a prepaid arrangement, you know, you will be a master of yourself. You control how much you spend. You know, under an estimated billing system, you know, you don't control it, because somebody will come at the end of the month and say, oh, you're on a 3-bedroom flat. You have a television, whether it's on or not. You have an air conditioner, whether you use it or not. By the time you add these 3 rooms, you know, and then air conditioner, all this other stuff, you are supposed to pay 20,000, and they'll bill you. Under a kind of prepaid or postpaid arrangement, you buy a credit of 10,000 naira, and you decide not to put your television or your air conditioner because maybe it's rainy season and it will not be on at the end of the month. Nobody will attach any money to it. And then in the evening, maybe at night before you sleep, you off every other goddamn thing. Nothing will read. So at the end of the day, you may discover that you have spent less than 5,000. So to that extent, it is a minus to the utility company, because where they were supposed to get 20,000, they are getting 5,000. So as much as possible, they will try to frustrate that process. That is talking on strictly economic sense. But at another level, it is to the advantage of the customer, that I will pay what I consume. So that is why, to a very large extent, I'm looking at the allegation by some Nigerians that they are doing it deliberately. But some of them have tried to introduce prepaid metering, but a very small percentage. I'm not sure any of the distribution companies had metered up to 30 or 40% of their customers. So there might be some element of truth on this.
Okay, moving forward, looking at what you've just said, many Nigerians are of the view that the private sector does not have any capacity to strengthen or improve the power supply in the country, which your union, NUI, actually warned Nigerians about these before the privatization exercise took place. Can you just remind us what steps the union took during this period?
Well, you see, the union didn't just come out to alert. We tried to study privatization processes in some countries of the world. And we realized that most of them, where they actually took place, were kind of post-industrialization, that it takes the state to build the infrastructure, especially in the electricity sector. And that if Nigeria was having 24 hours power supply and they were talking of privatization, the alarm won't be there. People will now be given jobs. Maybe you are in charge of Surulere, we are giving you Surulere for 1 billion. Now, if you now get 1.5 billion, whatever, that's your business. So you return this amount monthly in that order. Now, but for a private man to build a power plant, and the power plant, the private man will take maybe 3 years or 4 years gestation period to build a power plant. And then the money invested on it will take you about 20 years, minimum of 15, 20 years, for you to recoup the investment. At what return on investment will you recoup it for 15 or 20 years? Now, there's no Nigerian investor or businessman, let's not even talk about the technical competence, that invests, to recoup his investment after 20 years. The investors and businessmen we have here are those that will invest this month and harvest next month. The power sector is not like that. You must take at least 3 or 4 years to build it. The money you spend there, you cannot recoup it till the next 15 years. And that was why, years after, many of them were licensed to build power plants. They didn't. What they did was to turn around to buy what they were calling obsolete NEPA equipment, obsolete NEPA power plants. So the same people that were saying NEPA was inefficient, was obsolete, turned back to buy that thing that was inefficient and obsolete. And up to today, they have not built any power plant. So if you look at that, you discover that what is happening is the same way government left it. And we warn that, look, to avoid private sector monopoly, why don't you allow a mix of private and public? And we now suggested, if what you have is 4,000 megawatts, and as of today, if you have 50,000 megawatts, Nigeria will take it. Why don't you allow these 4,000 megawatts to be the contribution of the state? Let it be base power. And then the private sector, you generate, even if you generate 40,000 megawatts. Now, some people will still subscribe to NEPA because the tariff may be low. Even when you say it's inefficient, they will prefer. And then that's what the market is all about, choice. If I don't want this, I want it. Because today, you still have NESCO operating in Jos, generating, distribution and transmitting electricity in Jos. We suggested all this, but they didn't want to listen. They wanted the government facility And between that time and now, what they are doing is increasing tariff around the same 4,000 megawatts. So it will be difficult for anybody to now invest billions when he knows that if he increases tariff, he will make the same amount of money. So why will I build a new power plant, if there's artificial scarcity and demand is going high and high? What I will do is to increase tariff. Before long, it will not be for the poor again.
As it is, would you say that Nigerians will soon start enjoying stable power supply? Any sign of that in sight?
Well, it is not through a magic. If you are to have 1,000 megawatts added to the national grid next year, you ought to have started construction of a power plant 4 years ago. If you want to have 2,000 megawatts added to the national grid in the next 4 years, by now you should have started constructing it. So if there is none that is being constructed, there will be no magic next year. Now, even by next year, if you are having 4,000 megawatts and some areas are getting 8 hours supply or 6 hours supply, by next year, the supply will reduce because demand is going up. So by next year, many new houses, many gadgets will come in. Those people who were hindered to receiving 8 hours may be receiving 6 hours or less. Those receiving 6 hours may be receiving 4 or less, because you are not matching demand with supply. So the best way to do it is to make sure that at every year you are building a new power plant. Next year you are. So within the next 4 years they are coming in. If Nigeria had been bringing in about 500 megawatts since 2002, by now we should have been somewhere. A gradual process of, adding to the system. By now we should have been on over 10,000 megawatts or thereabout, because the demand is going up. So, but if we are not doing anything, if you are telling me that we are looking towards steady power supply, for me, I will tell you things don't go that way. You may be seeing small improvement during rainy season because the hydro plants, may be operating. After the rainy season, the system goes down and there's no conscious plan to add up from other areas. And then majority of the, almost 75% of the power generated in the country are based on gas. And if you check the cost of gas, you will discover that when eventually, government removes its hand, Nigerians, it will be difficult for them to even pay for the cost of gas before adding any other, cost on it. And it's going to be difficult. So the dependent on one source of power generation is another bane of Nigerian electricity sector.
Many workers disengaged from PHCN are still not yet to get their benefits, specifically in 2013. Is there any plan in sight? What has the union done? What are the challenges and what's the way forward?
Well, the union, the little that got their own was based on fight, rough fight. Now, but as of today, about 2,000 have not gotten anything of the 50,000 ex-staff of PHCN. Now, almost 48,000 or so that got their own were short paid by 16 months. 16 months payment that was not calculated in what they were paid. And all these issues have been with the BPE. BPE were paying, some of the people verified they were paying until this current government. They were not telling us either TSA or whatever. For money meant for payment of entitlement of people, majority of them are dying, and this government does not want to listen. 2 weeks ago, we did almost a final letter to the Vice President, who is the chairman of the National Council on Privatization. Now, if they continue, we won't have choice, because we had allowed time for this government to do whatever they are doing with TSA, to correct themselves, but it seems that they are not listening to the crying and yearnings of the people in that sector. So by the time we will start, because we are becoming restless. On daily basis, the workers think there must be something else. And we have been saying, be patient, be patient. We have picketed the BPE, we have shut down their offices for 3-4 times. And they will be telling us, we are doing something, we are doing something. Up to now, they have not. It will take a national action, and before long, and I pray that Nigerians will show understanding. If it coincides with when they are holding the election, so be it. So we can't remain this way. Nothing is happening. They have done verification. Last 2 weeks, they say it is at the office of the Accountant General of the Federation that he doesn't want to release money. They are still passing. So I don't understand the basis for inflicting such suffering or injury on ex-staff of PSCL.
Okay, I would like you to share your experience. For some few weeks ago, you picketed the Ikeja distribution company, and I know you'll be doing that with the same also with a co-distribution company. What are the challenges, and why do you still have to go to the streets before impressing your demands?
Well, I think it has to do with the character of the companies. Some of these companies, you don't even know the real owners. You don't know the real owners. Some of them, the people operating there will tell you that they are bored. And then they are bored, you don't know them. The people at the board, you may see a chairman of a board that doesn't have 1% share. So these companies, are they owned by ghosts? Now, you see a company from 2013 to date that doesn't have a condition of service, jointly agreed. And they will just go to sleep, wake up, sack workers, on flimsy excuses. And they are holding their own meeting, a group, that we should not agree to unionization, we should not agree to condition of service. We should continue to exploit people. We should adopt casualization and outsourcing. All those policies, they are doing it on daily basis. Some want to drag us into, the issue of, or if their check of dues is 10 naira, let them take it. Now, no condition of service, no unionization. A union like the one some of us pioneer would not take that. Instead, you keep that money, we unionize the people and get condition of service for it. So that's why you are seeing this clash, and it's going to worsen as we move on, because people are getting restless. Some of them will sack people without paying them anything. Some are not even remitting the pension. Some will tell you, like Kano Electricity will tell you that we jointly drafted the condition of service. There were gray areas. They say we have drafted, we are going to pay. You want to implement condition of service that is not jointly authored or signed by the two parties. So the greatest problem with the discourse is that they have inexperienced HR officers. Inexperienced HR officers. One of the companies was saying that with this condition of service, anybody that resigns, on his own will not get entitlement. So all those issues, you discover that they have not. Those of them that try to come closer to it, to having HR people, are not having issues. Very few, but they are not having issues. But those of them that say they hire people, either their brothers or sisters that worked in failed banks, they are having a whole lot of issues. You start to wonder whether they are from this land. And I think the Ministry of Labor is not helping matters. Not much seems to be happening from Ministry of Labor. They can't even give them induction, to say, hey, this is labor relations, this is the way it goes. Majority of them don't have labor officers. So before you know it, they commit a lot of blunder. So, and the Ministry of Labor, if I tell you that I know what is happening there now, I don't know. Initially, we thought they wanted to do an orientation for the new investors in the power sector, for them to know what labor relations is all about. They have not done that. And these ones are moving from one mistake to the other. So I don't know how it's going to last. Some of them came from telecom sector. Some of them came from the banking sector, where they don't have maybe robust unionism. So that's why they're having issues with us. And they will continue to have issues with us.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.